Well, a very good afternoon to you, my friends, and happy Saturday. It's the 16th of March and I hope you're doing well. On this lovely autumnal Saturday afternoon, I've been doing a little bit of sewing. I have been stuck in front of my computer all day and I'm like, I've had enough. We're doing a little bit of quilting and there is a huge possibility that I will get it finished today. So if you've seen from the last vlog, I am working on this lovely hexie flower quilt and I've just started doing some really basic straight line quilting. I did leave you on a little bit of a dilemma of the way that the quilting lines were going to work out, but I think I have figured it out. I think I'm just going to leave it as is, and I think my original plan that I had in my head is going to work out. So when I left you, I'd only done the lines going down the length of the quilt, so here and in this row here as well. This afternoon I've just finished doing the opposite lines. These lines are going across the quilt and it's definitely looking like it looked like in my head. So what's happening is that a couple of the blocks will just have one sort of directional line. Another one will have like a grid pattern, and then we'll be left over with some blocks that will just be blank. I was worried the blank ones might need maybe like a diagonal line, but I think I'm going to leave them just blank. So I sort of have blocks that are in 3 stages of a quilting process. So no lines, some lines, all the lines, if you know what I mean. So now I'm just going to finish doing the last row. I've just marked all of the lines I need to quilt on, and I'm pretty sure I should be able to get all of these done this afternoon. And then from there we can move on to the binding. I have actually already chosen the fabric, so keeping with the real nice earthy kind of tones that this quilt has, I'm going to bind it using a dark brown chocolate type solid. Never did I ever think that I would do a binding that was brown, but here we are. That's what we're doing, but I think it's really going to complement the quilt. It's not going to take away from the flowers, and I think we'll just sort of like frame it off really nicely, and I think, yeah, it'll go with the back of the quilt as well. So happy days. It's coming together really quickly and I really couldn't be any happier with it. So let's get the rest of the quilting done and then we can bind. Yay! Okay, my friends, quilting is all done, and that whole time when I was doing the last 2 lines, I was so paranoid that I was going to run out of bobbin thread. So let's just see how much I had left, because I knew it was getting low. I was coming to the end. Oh, not bad, not bad. It's actually a lot more than what I thought, but that's cool. It's always the worst thing to be in the middle of a quilting line and run out of bobbin thread. It has actually happened to me on this occasion, quilting this one, but we deal with it and we fix it and move on. But happy days, the quilting is finished. I think I'll just give it a little bit of a press just to get rid of any of the little creases and bumps and things, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Hello Jolly boy with your monkey. Hi puppy. Yeah. Hi. Hello puppy. Hello. Where's your monkey? Got your monkey? A puppy. Oh, thank you. That's lovely. Thank you. Well, a very good afternoon to you, my friends, and happy Thursday. It's the 21st of March today, and I hope you're all doing well. I can't remember what I updated with you the last time I vlogged. I think I opened this vlog on Saturday and I was doing a little bit of quilting, but since then the quilting plans have changed. I think I was going to leave a couple of blocks like plain and then have some blocks with like a grid pattern and then some blocks with just like straight lines. Well, that has all changed. I really loved the effect and the texture of the blocks that had the 1-inch grid sort of design in it. So I just ended up quilting the whole quilt with that grid pattern, and I just have to say I absolutely love it, and I'm really glad that I did it. So here is the lovely quilt top finished. It's all quilted. The grid line isn't perfect. As you can see, it's not perfect here. It's just because I did the inch sort of lines row by row. I just didn't really do it all that right, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that when you step back, it looks really great. I just love this texture. I love how pretty uniform it is. The lines are as straight as I could get them. I love how the majority of the lines in the grid are all like the perfect size. Like, it's just so nice to look at, and yeah, I just really love this effect. So that's what it looks like on the front, and that's what it looks like on the back. Can't really see, but as you get closer, you've got like that nice sort of, yeah, juxtaposition, oh, big word, of the grid lines and then these sort of like curved, scalloped sort of print. So now that the quilting is finished, we're going to move right on to the binding, and the binding that I have chosen is this one. I've actually pre-made it. It's ready to go. It is the brown. I think I showed this to you on the weekend. I really can't remember. So much has happened since Saturday. But yeah, we're using a nice lovely chocolate brown for the binding. I was actually going to finish the binding by hand. I was going to pop it on using the sewing machine and then folding it to the back and then sewing it by hand. But you know, I really can't be bothered. I think I'm just going to do it all by the machine. That way I can get it finished today, most definitely, and then hand sew the label on, and then the quilt is finished, and then we can move on to something else. I'm totally getting ahead of myself. Let's get this finished first. So what I'm going to do now is just square up the quilt using my big blade. I'm not going to show you the other side. Actually, no, I will show you the other side. The blade has gone all like weird. I don't know whether it's rust or it's dust or it's dirt. I don't know, but I might have to change it. Or is it mold? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. It's just like this weird kind of black marks on it. Is it rust or is it mold? Who knows? Doesn't matter. I'm still going to use it. But I'm going to use my big 60mm rotary blade. I think it's 60mm. And then my big long ruler. This one is, oh, this one's in centimeters. It gets me all the time. This one is 70 centimeters. No, 60 centimeters. 60 centimeters long. I like to use these two tools to square up the quilt so that I have some beautiful, perfectly straight edges to then sew the binding to. So let's get cutting and stitching and sewing and finishing. Happy days. For those of you who are a little bit unsure of how to square up a quilt, I'm just going to go through quickly how I do it. I usually try and match the lines that are on the ruler to one of the straight edges of the block or the edge of the quilt. So I'm going to put a line on my ruler along this nice straight line that my block is making. And I know that it's straight because I've cut these blocks straight. So I just pop one of the lines on there, line that up, and then bring this edge of the ruler as far as I can along the other side of the quilt top. I know again that this side is straight because I cut my block straight. So now that I have that nice lovely straight sort of like right angle here at the corner of the quilt, I just cut a line. So I'll cut as far as I can. Pull it down, make sure the rest of the quilt is nice and straight, and then again I'll line up a line on the ruler with usually the stitching line, so the line that's created by the two blocks joined together, so the seam line. Put a ruler line on top of that because I know that that seam line is nice and straight. I line it up nice and straight with the side of the quilt again, and then I make sure that the ruler is also, you can't see it because it's off camera, but I just make sure that the ruler is sort of hitting the corner of the quilt up the top here, and that creates a nice lovely straight line. So we're going to cut nice and confidently. Done. And there is our nice first straight line of the quilt, and then turn it around, and now that I have that nice lovely straight edge from where I just cut it, I will put a line on the ruler along that nice straight edge and just do exactly the same thing. So just creating a nice lovely right angle using my ruler and the lines. I also like to line up some of the other lines in the ruler with the seam lines, because all of those lines should be straight, and if they all match up then we're going to cut nice and straight. So nice and confidently, first cut, pull it down, we'll match up a line on the ruler with the seam line, bring the ruler right up to the edge that I've just cut, match it with the top corner of the quilt edge, and that's a nice lovely straight line. Cut and done. So I'm just going to do exactly the same thing for the other two edges. Ta-da! Quilt top is all finished and it looks good. I'm so glad I went with this brown binding. It just ties it all together so nicely. I'm also very happy with the top stitching. I decided not to change the top thread. I just used the same color that I used for my quilting. But yeah, I really like that sort of contrast. So I had to really make sure I sewed nice and neatly. But yes, I am very, very happy with that. Yes, happy days. Next thing we got to do is the label. I'm not going to do it right now because I have to get dinner ready, but it might be a thing to do tomorrow. I think tomorrow is my day of doing things. Friday is usually my day off, so we'll definitely get that finished tomorrow. But happy days. It's always a good thing when a quilt top gets finished. Yay! Well, a very good afternoon to you, my friends, and happy Saturday. I hope you're all doing well. Today I'm spending a little bit of time finishing my flowers from Galmi Quilt. I've just prepped the quilt label. Here it is, and I've just written on it just, you know, the essentials that you need to put on a quilt label, and I'm just about to pop it onto the back of the quilt to then stitch it on. I've just realized I don't have my glue stick. So a very, very, very long time ago, I used to stick my labels onto quilts using Visifix, so I just do like an applique method, but I found that that's sort of left it a little bit stiff. But ever since I discovered the SNAIL fabric glue stick, I just use this. I just pop a little bit on the edges at the back, stick it on, put a little bit of heat onto it so it just sticks a little bit better, and then I just do my little stitches around the edges. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll just pop a little bit of glue on and then stick it on to the back, and then I might actually just do a really quick slip stitch to attach the label to the quilt. I used to always do like a buttonhole stitch or a blanket stitch using like an embroidery thread, but it just takes too long. Sometimes be a little bit bulky as well. The last quilt that I made, which was my Bear Paw block, that's really hard to say, I finished the stitching for the label just using, yeah, a slip stitch, and I was just able to finish it so much quicker, and it just sort of left the edges just really nice and neat and lovely. So I think that's what I'm going to do with this label as well, and that way I can also get the quilt finished definitely today, to move on to the next thing. And yes, I do have plenty of other things to move on to. I am quietly working in the background on definitely one thing I want to finish this year. It was something I wanted to make last year, but I just didn't have the time. But this year I'm making sure that I take time to to get it done. But I will explain that, don't worry. I will be sharing that project with you as I go along. But anyway, let's get this one finished first and then we shall move on. But here we go. The label is all stuck on, and I was actually worried that the label would kind of get lost with this really intense background. But you know what? I don't think it's turned out that bad. It looks good on the camera. Looks okay in real life. So yeah. Worked out a little bit better than what I thought. Alright, let's do some stitching. So the thread that I'm going to use to slip stitch the label onto the back of the quilt is just the one that I've been using for quilting. This one actually doesn't have a number on it. It came in like a set of 10 threads or something, celebrating the 150 year editions of Gutermann thread. It is a polyester thread. I know that's like a sin to be using polyester thread for quilting, but it's what I have available. I have a whole rack full of polyester threads, and you know, I'm a poor student, so I'm just going to use what I've got. And you know, I really don't mind using polyester thread in most stuff. It's nice and strong. It lasts. I know that it doesn't shrink with the cotton of the quilt when you wash it, but I quite like the wrinkly effect that it gives. And you know, I try really hard not to be so much of a purist when it comes to quilting and stuff. Just use what you've got, you know, it does the job. And yeah, I want to save money and just use what I have to hand. I often get asked what hand needles I use. With hand needles, I usually just stick with the one thing. I find that the size that I use just sort of is like a really great coverage for everything. So the ones that I use, they are by Birch. I'm sure you can get this size in different brands, but it is just an embroidery needle, size 7. So that's the little packet if you're interested, and it's a size 7. I really like the size of the eyes are really good for most threads, so just sewing threads and also embroidery threads. I like how they're not like too thick. They pretty much go through everything. Really great for quilting if you're going to be finishing the bias binding by hand. Pretty much everything. I find that these work really well with. I do have a set of Sashiko needles that I use for maybe things that are a little bit thicker and maybe for more like decorative work, because they are a thicker needle and the eye is bigger as well. So I have them as like a backup if I really need it. But yeah, I just use the size 7 embroidery needles for everything. I keep all of my needles in this little needle book that I have actually made as a tutorial ages and ages and ages ago. If you want to check it out, if you're in need of a needle book, then I'll leave the link below and you can check it out. I find it really handy because it's got a couple of different pages in there, and then it has a little tab on the front that you can click into place, and it's all there nice and handy. Yeah, check out that tutorial if you want to make one of these. Like I said, it was done a very long time ago, so yeah, hopefully it's still good. It's been a while since I've watched it. Right, let's get sewing and get this quilt finished. Happy days. Okay, my friends, my quilt is all finished and I'm so happy with it. I'm going to show you a full sort of look at it in a second. But I'll show you how the quilt label worked out. There it is. So I just did a nice lovely little slip stitch and it looks really nice and neat and lovely. But here is the reveal of the quilt. Ta-da! And then of course we have the back front. So that is the finished quilt. All done, and the label at the back. So I'm going to now hang that up somewhere and get some nice photos and share them on Instagram. And then we'll move on to the next thing. I have a whole bag full of unfinished quilt tops that I think I'm going to have a little bit of a rummage through and see what sparks my interest next and work on that while I work on making a quilt jacket. That's what I was kind of like hinting at before when I was ironing. I have an idea for it and I'm slowly working on it to get to the point where I can actually just start cutting it out. Shall I share the idea with you now? Yeah, why not? So continuing with the hexie theme, you know, I can't get away from hexie flowers. I'm going to make a hexie flower quilt jacket using little mini hexie flowers. So these are the size that I usually make, but I'm going to make them out of the smaller size. I think these are 1-inch hexies, where I usually use 1.5-inch for this size. I finished a couple of hexie flower blocks. They're all stitched on, appliqued, however you want to talk about it, and they're ready to be pieced together to make a fabric, so to speak, so I can lay my pattern pieces on top and cut it out. So in the background I'm kind of like working on this, making some more hexies, sewing the flowers together and then appliquing them onto their little background squares. And I'm just using like recycled linen that I have, just, you know, laying around my sewing room. With this project I'm really trying to just use up a lot of the stuff that I just have in my sewing room that, one, I don't use, 2, I have it so I don't really need to buy it again just because I can't find it, you know. I'm going to try and do some Franken batting. So that's like stitching offcuts of batting together to make one bigger piece of batting. So because it's all stitched together it looks like, you know, Frankenstein's skin. Is it Frankenstein the monster, or is Frankenstein the scientist? Frankenstein's monster, so he's the scientist, right? But anyway, I'm going to try and use up a lot of my batting bits for this as well. But yeah, that's just a little thing that's going on in the background. And when it gets to the point of constructing the quilt jacket, I will share a little bit more about the pattern. I did share it in a vlog last year, but I just didn't end up making it. But I will share with you the pattern I'm using and how it all comes together, and then of course the results. Hopefully it works out well and it doesn't look silly. But yes, that's just a little project I am getting quite excited for, because the days are getting cooler and we are coming into winter, so I want to have it ready to wear when it gets colder. Well, a very good morning to my friends and happy Monday. It's the 25th of March and I hope you're doing well. I am out and about today. I've come to my favourite local park and I'm going to go for a nice lovely morning walk, although it's just about to go midday. It's 5 to 12, so it's not really going to be a morning walk. It's going to be more of a early afternoon walk. And it's also quite warm today for late March. So I'm not sure how long I'll stay out for, but yeah, we're just going to have a nice lovely walk, clear the cobwebs, get the mind ready for the rest of the week. Before I do, I'm going to have a little sneak, just put in a little bit of energy before we go hit the pavement. I'm also going to be wearing my very snazzy, fashion forward hat. Oh my gosh, fashion icon right here. I have to, since I've cut my hair short, I have to kind of wear this sort of like open headed sort of sun hat thing, because otherwise I can't fit my little ponytail in my hats and my hair falls out. It's just, my hair is just like at that stage where it's such an awkward length. So I have to wear this very stylish tennis type hat to make sure the sun is off my face but my hair isn't all like squished and horrible. So for the sake of sun safety, this is what we're looking like. I'm going to be like the most stylish walker out here today, and nobody can tell me otherwise. So what do I need? Where are my headphones? Oh my gosh, should I forget my headphones? Okay. Headphones found. We can't have a walk without having some music blaring in my ears. Actually, I won't be listening to music. We're listening to a podcast through Apple Fitness Plus. They do like these walking podcasts where you listen to like famous people taking a walk and talking about stuff and sharing some music that's helped them through their life. So I've listened to a couple. I've listened to Malala. I think I actually mentioned that in a vlog last year. Last time I listened to one with Prince William. That one was really good. And I've done one with an Australian Olympian, that's the word. He's quite known in Australia. His name is Kurt Fernley, and he's in a wheelchair, and he's just an amazing athlete, and it's just such a great sort of mindset. So yeah, if you have Apple Fitness Plus and look at their walking sort of section, yeah, I would definitely check them out because yeah, they're really awesome to listen to. So I'm going to scroll through and find one to listen to today. Hopefully I can find one that's inspiring. Snack has been consumed. We'll lock up the car and get going.